It's been a while since I've been using the Uzi, and when I went back to the Damascus grind, I think I rediscovered a weapon that's so much fun to use. Hi, I'm Wolfran, and before I get into the best loadout for the Uzi, can you please give me a subscribe, leave me a comment, leave me a like, or even leave me a dislike if you don't like the video. Also, I've got a whole range of other videos on best loadouts for weapons and going through some matters both with Warzone and with the multiplayer game. The Uzi is by far and away one of the most fun weapons to use in the game because it has just insane hip fire if it's set up properly. You can pretty much hip fire sort of 20-30 meters and be inordinately accurate. You can see some of the gameplay here. It's on shipment. I have to use shipment to grind for Damascus, so a lot of this footage is done on shipment, but you can see the hip fire is almost as good as ADSing with the Uzi. With the right setup, there are some crucial aspects to the Uzi that make it a substantially better weapon, and they're the two unlocks you've got to do. One for the barrel, so you've got the Carbine Pro barrel, and one for the ammunition. In multiplayer, the unlocks are relatively easy to do, take very little time at all to do them. As usual, most things I suggest jumping into hardcore simply because it's easier. The Uzi absolutely dominates in hardcore because with the hip fire you can hip fire basically across the map and kill people, which is nuts. But certainly I suggest that once you've got the unlocks, that's the key to creating a really good weapon for it. And we're going to go through the loadout in a moment, and certainly the timestamps I leave in the description so you can just jump straight to the loadout. After the loadout, I've left some more footage of gameplay demonstrating how to really use the Uzi. In this game of shipment, I don't think I had all that great a game, but you can just see it's a great workhorse. You can run it. It can take long shots, aim down sights. It's really accurate. Hip fire, it's really accurate. You've got great mobility with it. This is using a relatively long barrel, using a suppressor as well, which really helps. This is also the setup I recommend for Warzone, and there is an advantage to it. The Uzi almost competes with the MP5, doesn't quite compete with the MP5, but what the Uzi has is a consistent time to kill over a longer range than the MP5 has. The MP5 will technically beat the Uzi very close, I think something within 10 to 12 meters without any difficulty at all. One missed shot from the MP5 and the Uzi wins. But beyond that, the MP5 damage range jumps and the TTK jumps, whereas the Uzi's is flat right out to about 30 meters. So this is a weapon that we're now seeing even discussed as a potential in for use in competitive play as a secondary weapon that a lot of people run when they run an overkill class with an SMG. So getting into the setup for the weapon itself, there are some obvious choices that I run. That's the monolithic suppressor to start with. That is integral, I consider, on most loadouts for SMGs. You can lose it if you play multiplayer and aren't too bothered about showing up on the compass. You put something in like a compensator, or run a compensator before without any difficulty. But the monolithic gives you that little bit of extra damage range, which I think really helps out, especially if you're going to be doing lots of hip firing, lots of ADS, just like certainly taking on the longer battles. If you're going for long shots for your camos, then you're definitely going to want the monolithic suppressor. In terms of barrels, you want the Carbine Pro. That needs to be unlocked, but it is substantively better than any of the other barrels. You get improvement across the board with it. That's the barrel you need to use. In this build, I run the 5mm laser. Generally, in a lot of my builds, I would use a tac laser for ADS speed, but actually you'll find your ADS speed with this weapon is absolutely fine without it. And you don't have to worry about the aiming stability. The 5mm just really plays to the Uzi strengths of hip fire. This loadout is fantastic on hip fire because of the 5mm. Part of the problem, of course, is the 5mm gives you a position away. I don't have a huge problem with that because generally I'm moving quite a lot. If you're sprinting around, it doesn't show. If you're ADSing, it doesn't show. I'm generally trying to be constantly on the move with the Uzi. and so I've not had a problem with it. The alternative tactic you use with the 5mm, of course, is to bait people with it because you can give away your position. If you don't like the 5mm, then certainly I'd run a 1mm, or I'd run the tac laser. Alternatively, you could run no stock with this weapon, but the problem is then the recoil does get a bit excessive with it. It's actually quite a low recoil weapon. In fact, extremely low recoil weapon on this loadout. If you went with no stock, you do have to be a bit better at handling the recoil. Stipple grip tape, that's pretty much bog standard on a lot of my builds. That again is just for ADS speed, sprint spot fire speed. This loadout is designed to give you good range, good damage, but also very good mobility. It's a good all-round loadout. And the other thing I use on it is the Merc foregrip. I think it's essential on this loadout, again for the same reason as the 5mm. You've got to aim for that hip fire and the recoil control. Using those two attachments together, this weapon is absolutely fantastic. You can see in the gameplay I've provided both before and after in terms of loadout, it's absolutely intense. So that's what I suggest for the best loadout. By all means, let me know what your views are, what people think. I'd be really grateful for a subscribe as I'm trying to make more and more of this content. I'm going to leave you some gameplay on Shoot House where I demonstrate the Uzi absolutely dominates both close quarters and controlling long range. But you know, give that a good view because it's good. You know, it's always good to see how these games play out. Thanks a lot.